We are live.
All right. Welcome to show number 1 for the Beefy Bois Bud Club. I am Christian, and I am joined here by Vito and Joe.
What up?
And we're here to discuss some sports. We're here to discuss video games and
Music.
and music, of course. My favorite sports and music and video games, all my favorites. Anywho, let's get started. So, what's your guys' favorite video game of all time?
Favorite video game of all time. I guess I'll go first. I have a list.
Oh, yeah?
Of course.
Oh,
I bring the
there you go.
facts. That's what I do. Anyways, my favorite, and again, I'm not a fucking critic. This isn't the best game ever, so don't come at me, bro. Final Fantasy X. My favorite game of all time. I've beaten that game about 10 times, including getting all the celestial weapons, which if you've ever done it, is a pain in the ass. Dodging lightning bolts 200 times in a row. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that particular mini game, but it was annoying without HDMI input lag, and I've done it twice with HDMI input lag, which means your timing has to be fucking perfect.
Honestly, all I remember about that game is that it was really fun to play, and there was some kind of like underwater sports ball thing.
Oh, underwater soccer. Yes.
Yeah.
I never got into those games. I never could, never have.
Lame.
I mean, even on the PlayStation 1, I could never figure it out.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things where I tried to pick it up as a kid, and when I tried to pick it up as a kid, it was too frustrating to ever pick up again. So I just said, fuck it.
I think it hit me at the right time. I was like 15 when I first played it. So, you know,
Yeah, that'll
all
probably
those
do it.
Hormones in middle school, and I know the story is very melodramatic, but it was a video game that actually told a tale you could follow, which wasn't a thing in the 90s, you know?
Yeah.
They were either obtuse and Japanese, or they were just, you know, Mario games with no story at all.
Yeah, I feel like the first 3 games that I probably played that were like significantly good games as far as like stories and stuff kind of would be Final Fantasy VII, Warcraft, and Diablo.
I remember Final Fantasy VII just like, oh my god, look at these graphics. And like, if you go back to the PS1 stuff now, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, his fist is the same size as his hand, but his arms are like matchsticks, you know?
Well,
It
they're like
looks so
they're like
bad.
cubes.
Yeah.
The humans look like cubes.
Remember when Lara Croft was a sex symbol with her fucking triangle boobs?
That's because everybody had the cover. Everybody had the cover of the game to go off of what they intended her to look like.
Spray paint or airbrush drawings and shit. Yeah, I don't want to go too long. The other one I'll mention is when I was 5, I had appendicitis and I had to go to the hospital for like 4 days. And they had an NES in my hospital room, and I had never been into video games before because I lived in Appalachia. We were basically hillbillies. I literally lived in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains when I was a kid. So like, the cool things to do on the weekend was to go hunting with your dad, you know. Anyways, there was NES in my room, and I played the original Super Mario Brothers with my dad like all day, every day. And I'm like, what is this stuff? This is a whole world to explore, you know? So that's where I fell in love with video games right there, age 5. I can pinpoint it.
I remember the first video game I ever got. It was like, you know, parents are going through a divorce, so it's like, let's get our kids some gaming consoles to kind of help them cope through this. So we got a Nintendo 64, and our first games were not StarCraft 64, but that came a little bit later down the line. But we got Star Fox.
Okay,
64,
very, very different game.
Star Fox 64, and then GoldenEye. And I love both games, but I'm sorry, but GoldenEye way better than Star Fox.
I mean, GoldenEye invented
the first-person shooter. Yeah.
Someone's going to yell at me and say it was Doom, but I don't care.
Oh, yeah, Doom. Yeah,
Fuck your PC games, man.
Doom is fucking incredible. I love
reinvented. Doom is like the World of Warcraft of first-person shooters.
Doom's
it wasn't
the
the first,
granddaddy.
but it was the first good one.
They're the granddaddy of
big
first-person
poppy.
shooters, yeah.
All right.
And then I would say that, like, GoldenEye is, like, the one that kind of brought it more into popularity.
Yeah.
By going on to the Nintendo 64, bringing it into a console.
Just like all the cool, like, you know, you could customize all your matches, like proximity mines in the facility was great.
And then, like, after that, after they came out with that, they came out with Doom 64. So
Yeah.
Doom went from PC to the 64, and it just kind of, that's like what got the balls rolling for first-person shooters.
Yeah.
And, but my favorite game of all time is Fallout New Vegas.
Really?
Yes.
That's so...
I have spent maybe about 250 hours of my life logged into that game on I've played it on
That's
all
it?
the difficulties that you could play it on.
Oh, shit. Vito's calling you out, boy.
What'd he say?
He said that's it.
Hilarious. Yeah. But I was also caught up on Fallout 3 as well because I was balancing them out because
Yeah.
I played Fallout 3. I played Fallout 3 more than I have New Vegas, but I just enjoyed New Vegas more than I like Fallout 3.
I think it was like... I played Fallout 3 when it was contemporary, and then I moved on, and I came back to New Vegas like a few years later, and it just felt so dated, you know? Like, especially
It
after
was.
like a Mass Effect conversation tree, I just couldn't get into like these wall of text pick a answer thing. I think I played it for an hour, got
I think the thing about
to a town, and I was just done with it.
New Vegas kind of felt more of like an add-on than it did like a whole standalone game. But the gameplay of it and the story of it, it had a great story. It had a great side missions, and the whole like picking and choosing which gang you want to play with. It kind of like paved the way for Fallout 4. And
well, that's what people love about it. It
Yeah.
brought back all that faction stuff because it
did.
3 was a lot more streamlined than the old ones.
yeah, 3 was more like a you're more solo and you're either a good guy or a bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, in New Vegas, you can be a good guy, a bad guy, and belong to a faction, and then have everybody else shun you and hate you because you belong to a certain faction.
Yeah.
And it's a toss up.
Faction pride is real.
For me, it's a it's a big time toss up for me between New Vegas and Red Dead Redemption. You know,
OG Red Dead Redemption?
OG Red Dead Redemption. I loved Red Dead Revolver. And when I lived I loved Red Dead Revolver. When I lived in Japan, my brother and I played that shit all the fucking time. And we had the original Xbox, and it was like that and Halos are what kept us like, you know, that kept us in the gaming loop. And then we got a GameCube while we were there and got Resident Evil 4. And
Resident Evil 4 was fucking balling, man.
I loved Resident Evil 4. That shit was dope. And, but yeah, Red Dead Redemption is a toss up between that and New Vegas for my favorite game of all time. Games that I've played that one more than I've played New Vegas. I just like New Vegas.
Yeah. So
just a little bit more, just a tad bit more.
I mean, New Vegas has a Western theme to it, even if it is a sci-fi game.
It does. It's a Western sci-fi post-apocalyptic game, and that just screams me.
Westworld. Oh.
Yeah. And Red Dead Redemption like changed the open world like video game.
Yeah.
After that game, you couldn't make just like you couldn't fuck up an open world game after Red Dead Redemption, or else you're just not going to last.
Yeah.
You know, and you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I felt like it dragged. That stuff in Mexico just seemed too long.
You had I remember you telling me you had the problem with the Mexico campaign, but I love the Mexico campaign. It was fun.
It just felt too video gamey. Like, I forget what the politician's name was, but he was an asshole, and Marsden didn't really have a reason to help him. He just kept doing everything he was asked. Well, and then you get double crossed at the end. It's like, yeah, no shit. You didn't see this coming a mile away, dude. Like, what are you doing?
But he was also double crossing them. He was working with the rebels whilst helping the army, because he was kind of working for both of them, but it was more of like he was on the side of the rebels than he was with the army, but he was getting intel by working with them, and that's kind of like what that whole Mexico story was. But I thought it was fun. I thought like blowing up that fort and the castle and all that shit in Mexico was dope.
I remember something about a train.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's the train as well. Vito, you gotta enlighten me on the World of Warcraft world.
The World of Warcraft world.
The World of Warcraft world, because I've never played World of Warcraft. I've played Warcraft 1 and 2 and 3. 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
All fantastic games. But right when it went to World of Warcraft, I couldn't get into it because I never played it.
Yeah, totally.
Have you gotten into MMOs at all?
No.
Okay, well, Vito, this is your
this is Vito's.
your flaw. So look at that grin.
Yeah, so I've been playing World of Warcraft probably since like 2006, 2007. It was
Late adopter, huh?
yeah, but it was I honestly I didn't really get I didn't even know about the game until my brother introduced it to me. And I honestly didn't even really play actual like classic WoW aside from leveling in it and I didn't even hit max level until after Burning Crusade came out.
Okay.
But it was like several months before Burning Crusade came out, like 3 or 4 months before it came out, that I started playing. And yeah, it's just it was something that I just never had experienced before. It was open world. There were other actual people in the world. It was a manifestation of a video game franchise that I've been into for years. All the amazing artwork, character designs, environments that I'd seen kind of in the strategy games and stuff, but being able to actually see like, you know, the world that it was built in through the character's eyes was amazing. Exploring that world was amazing. And then I just kept kind of playing with it. The gameplay was always really fun. I loved I got really into PvP in Burning Crusade. Yeah. Because I know, like, you know, Raid Till You Die was the thing in Classic and Burning Crusade, but when arenas were introduced in Burning Crusade, those 2v2s, unforgettable. My brother and I had a 2v2 team. We were both rogues, and we're both asshole rogues, because rogues are always assholes.
Of course.
And it was balanced in such, or I guess unbalanced in such a way that I could, me and my brother sometimes played just entirely solo in the 2v2s, and just crowd controlled one person and burst down the other person.
So were you playing with your brother from when you started?
Yeah, kind of. I didn't play directly with him a lot. He did, like, because he had a lot higher level character. And
so he started before you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he sort of got me into it afterwards. And then I remember him, like, having to stay, like, really far back so I didn't aggro anything, and he would run me through the dead mines as, like, the max level character.
Yeah. So you were involved with, you know, a social aspect from the beginning, because I played World of Warcraft for like an hour on my friend's account when I was in college, and I'm like, I can definitely see the appeal. I don't want to get lost in this game and have to flunk out of school like you did, Chuck. But anyways, call him out, whatever. He knows who he is. Anyways, my big MMO was Final Fantasy 14, but I was pretty much soloing the whole thing. And I know it's not World of Warcraft, but World of Warcraft basically redefined the whole genre. Yeah. And everything else is built on it. But I imagine having a social aspect from the start with people you actually know would make it so much better. Because I loved it because it was basically like, you know, like an open world RPG that just went forever, you know?
Exactly.
It's like, there's so many quests. I can just play this. I think I played it while I was unemployed at the time. This was when I was working on the boat, so I didn't have to work. So, like, for 3 months, I would play it 12 hours a day, every day, and I never ran out of stuff to do, you know?
Yeah.
That sounds like my high school.
Yeah.
It was like when I was in high school, I wasn't at school, I was at home, like fucking playing video games and shit.
Yeah, I remember I also got stuck on League of Legends for like 2 years, like basically straight.
Yeah,
I think I even played it. I
those
played
games,
it more consistently than World of Warcraft, I think, when I was playing it, and then I just quit because, you know,
I just don't understand those games. You know, I'm just not.
You'd like League of Legends, like MOBAs, or just...
I've never played League of Legends. Never played it, never even attempted to, just because I've seen gameplay on it, and it just looks
crazy.
Too much. Yeah. You know, it's also the same
very
with...
intense.
Yeah, it's the same with, like, Overwatch.
Yeah.
I never played Overwatch just because I'm not good at that style of game.
Have you ever gotten into like a big online community like that? Because I play Rocket League probably 20 hours a week still, you know.
Well, I mean, the big online community that I'm in is just the shooters. You know, I'm a big standard shooter.
Are you a COD head?
Oh, big time.
Oh.
I think.
Have you been playing Black Ops
Black
4?
Ops 4? No, because I've been saving my... I was going to buy it, but instead of buying it, I slowed my roll, and I realized I'm going to be buying the game I've been waiting fucking 7 years for.
RDR2?
Yeah. And I'm going to be spending probably from the time I get it all the way up past Christmas just playing the storyline itself. So I thought about it, and I was like, I'm not going to get Black Ops 4 until maybe around Christmas time when it's cheap.
Yeah, wait for a deal, like I do every year.
Yeah, get it for a deal. So, I get like the season pass instead of like 110, whatever it is, I get it for like $70. And just have it, and, I'd be contributing to the Christmas noob society, but I've played that game so many fucking times before, like every different COD. It's the same.
Well, there's a new blackout mode though.
There's a new the new blackout mode, which is awesome. I played a little bit of that.
Beta?
Yep, and it was great. I thought
That's what people say.
I thought it was freaking amazing.
I heard, I've been hearing a lot lately actually that Black Ops a few years ago or something decided to go in a little bit more of a crazy direction with their stuff.
Yeah,
and it directly has led to more fun gameplay just because there's more like interesting things to do now.
Well, yeah,
rather than just like
the Black Ops
shooter
series,
of like
the Black
Battlefield
Ops
or whatever.
series is like Call of Duty's. That's like their thing.
It's basically a sci-fi game now. I mean,
Exactly,
jetpacks and rocket slides.
Well, they took all that shit out for the new one, which is, I love that. I was getting tired of that futuristic shit. Yeah, it can be okay. So Black Ops 2,
I feel like it's a good flavor of the month kind of thing.
Black Ops 2 was in the future, but there was no jetpacks. There was no flying in the air.
Wall running.
It was just based in the future, and everything looked futuristic, but you still had regular guns that shot bullets, not fucking laser beams. And you didn't have any like grappling hooks. You didn't have any special abilities. It was just like regular
near
shooting
future.
multiplayer. And I feel like Black Ops 2 was the best Black Ops out of all of them. I loved every single Black Ops that they have. Black Ops 1, great game. Black Ops 2, I spent like from the night I got it, just every night for like a month, I played that shit just like Joe did for 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I remember I had just gotten my first job at McDonald's, and I was it's pretty ironic. High school dropout gets a job at McDonald's. It's pretty ironic.
You're a walking cliche.
I'm a cliche. I'm a fucking cliche. And so I had a job, and I would work from like, sometimes it'd be like 10 to or 10 p.m. to 9 a.m.
Oof.
And that was a brutal shift.
12 hours.
But the good thing is I worked only a few days a week. So it's like I had that shift, but I'd work a few days. And then I also got back into like the regular swing of shifts, like regular just night shifts. Like I'd go in at 10 and I'd leave, at 5 a.m. or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad gig, but it gave me time to play Black Ops 2, like big time. And that was like all I fucking did. It was me and my brother, and then my cousin Rodrigo, and then our friend Diego. We had our little team, and every time we were on there, we were just... I think we had on Team Deathmatch, we must have had like a 58-game win streak. On Team Deathmatch alone, and on Search and Destroy.
Damn.
Search and Destroy, I lost maybe 2 games, but I didn't play that mode that much.
Yeah.
But I think I ended, when I stopped playing Black Ops 2, I think I had like 35. It was like 35-2 on my Search and Destroy record, which is insane, because I didn't like Search and Destroy that much, but that was the game that really brought me into it. And yes, Black Ops 4 looks great. It looks great. I can't wait to buy it. I can't wait to play it, but it's going to be a little bit later down the line after I played Red Dead Redemption 2 for like 3 or 4 months.
Gotcha. All right. We should start to transition a little bit. Let's just go on to our Facebook page here and read some of what the community mentions as their favorite games here. Tim Mahoney writes in, says, Ninja Gaiden, Mario Kart, Spy Hunter. He's an old fucking man, so those answers make sense. Currently, Super Mario Party. What a nerd. Anyway,
Mario Party's a great game. He should have specified which one.
He's talking the brand new one, Super Mario Party that just came out.
Okay. I see. Okay.
No.
Never mind.
Okay. Woo.
But Ninja Gaiden.
The original, that game was fucking
That game was so hard. It was fun, but fuck that game.
The only way I ever got through it was an emulator with save states, man. Because like that level with the birds, like forget about it. Like mid jump, you can't do anything, and then a bird swoops on you. Like, are you kidding me?
Swoop.
Did you ever play that game, Vito?
I played a little bit of it, but I never really had consoles as a kid, so I usually just played these kinds of games at my friends' houses.
Yeah,
it was like the Dark Souls of that.
Yeah,
of that generation.
I remember. I definitely heard about it,
Yeah.
and I definitely played a little bit of it.
Now we're talking the NES version here. Yes, are you guys talking about the?
Oh, I'm
Xbox?
talking about Xbox.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
version.
Tim's referencing
The
the original NES.
Oh,
version.
well, I played
sure.
that
Way
game
back.
too.
Yeah, I know. To peel back the curtain, Vito and Christian are both a not insignificant amount of years younger than me, so you two are probably too young to remember when the NES was the coolest thing you could have, you know?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure pretty sure Vito and I weren't.
The SNES came out when I was 6. I don't think either of them were even born yet.
I don't know, man. I remember playing Duke 'em Nukem on my grandpa's computer.
There you go. There you go.
Duke Nukem or whatever.
Duke Nukem.
The fucking side-scrolling jumpy one.
One more from the Facebook page. Josh Schwaler? Schwalier, thank you. Mentions Halo 2 because it basically invented the online shooter genre. Or redefined it at least.
It definitely paved the way fat in the online shooter because that game was fucking insane. It was awesome. It was great. And I spent a lot of time playing Halo 2 as well.
I never was an Xbox guy. When I was in high school, again, showing my age, we were nerds. We'd have LAN parties where we'd get together and play some 4v4 team deathmatch and Blood Gulch, you know.
Yeah.
It was the capture the flag mode or whatever you call it. But.
Yeah, and I grew up with Josh as well, and our group of friends did the exact same thing. It's like, you know, Friday after school, everybody would come over to my house. We'd set up the Xbox, we'd play 4v4, but there'd be like, you know, 12, 13 of us all hanging out, shooting the shit and just playing Xbox. It was a great time.
Did you do
But that was mainly with Halo 1. Halo 1, we
Yeah.
were doing like the 4v4s, and then once Halo 2 came out, we would do it here and there, but everybody had live by the time that game came out, so we were all just...
Not as necessary to have.
not have everybody over.
I mean, we were hardcore. We had them in separate rooms, so you couldn't like screen cheat. Like we were such.
I did that with Modern Warfare 2, with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I did that with a bunch of buddies from my from my first high school. We would play. We would all get together, and we would all we bring our Xbox 360s, and then we would all set up to different TVs, and then next thing you know, we're like staying up all night drinking fucking energy drinks and eating like shit and then playing video games all night. Like, you know, we played from Friday all the way until afternoon of Saturday until we crashed. Great time. Great time. I don't think online could ever beat the feeling of having like a bunch of your friends hanging out, just posted up, playing video games and just having a good time. And I think that's just the best part about video games.
That was ballin'.
I loved. I never really got into Halo 2. I think it was because at the time, at least, it was only on console, and Halo 1 was on PC as well.
Yeah.
And I remember having LAN parties with my brother doing the Gulch kills up to 50, first to 50 kills.
Damn. Like one-on-one in Blood Gulch?
Not one-on-one.
Okay.
It was a LAN party. My brother and I were just also there. But
there were more people than
like
just you and your brother. Okay.
I don't remember what the max was, 16 or 32, but
16.
16. It was first to 50, and my brother and I were always at the top winning. People were getting so mad.
Yeah, those are some good.
My brother won more than I did. But.
Good memories.
Yeah.
All right. I think.
Okay, I got it.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, it's gonna start with that now.
All right. So we're gonna get into sports now. I'm gonna bring up a very important thing that's been on my mind ever since I did this trip. So I went to Eugene, Oregon last week. Brought to you by Jeff in produce. He hooked it up. And he's a big Oregon Ducks fan, and I'm a big Washington Huskies fan. So naturally, when they're playing each other in Autzen Stadium, that place is going to be electric. It's going to be wild. And the whole way there, he's like, oh, they're going to love you there. They're just going to have like a blast being able to hate on you, you know. And then when we get to Eugene, that was when I noticed like the football community in Eugene is great. They're fun. They don't make their visitors feel welcome at all, and I love that. I actually love that feeling, and it's fun. It makes the sport fun.
Yeah.
And that's what makes traveling on the road to see your favorite football team play fun, you know.
The faction pride is real.
And so what's that?
The faction pride is real.
It's like your catchphrase, bud.
So the one thing I noticed when I was at the game was everybody, while I was there, I got a lot of fuck yous. I got a lot of, fuck the Huskies. I got a lot of
How long do you
that.
want this video to be?
And what's that?
Oh, I think you should have stopped it.
I mean, you can stop it. Yeah, that's fine. You can.
Just wanted to get the intro.
Yeah, just a 30 seconds at a time. But okay, so yeah, I got a lot of fuck yous. I got a lot of fuck the Huskies, all that fun shit. But the best part about it was I was sitting in the student section for Oregon in all of my Husky gear, and they had a heyday with me. And it was, sorry. Pardon. But anyway, yeah, they had a heyday with me, but the whole time I was being hazed, it was just a great time. Because every time the Huskies would do something, I'd be the first one to talk shit and have everybody around me giving me the finger, and Jeff is telling me, oh, fuck you, man, fuck you. And it's all in good fun. As long as nobody's spitting on me and nobody's throwing shit at me, I don't care. You can say whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. That's the atmosphere of a football game. And that's what made that stadium so great. And it was also loud as fuck. My ears were ringing after that game the whole car ride home. It was great. And then I went to the BYU game for the Huskies. I went to the
home game?
Yep, home game. It's just not the same thing. I think Washington fans need to step it up. And this is when, they were a top 10 team all the way up until that, Oregon game. And the fans aren't showing up. I don't know what it is, but the fans need to fill that stadium up every single game.
Yeah.
Because they're like a top tier college team now because they have Chris Peterson, and going there and having it not be louder than Autzen Stadium is kind of sad. It's kind of sad, and then having the visitors feel so welcome in that stadium, like in the tailgates, nobody's talking shit, nobody's doing anything. But then if you talk shit to somebody, you're looked at as an asshole. And it's like, well, I'm not really an asshole, but this is the sports environment. This is like the fun part of college sports.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get it. If you're hazing like a 10-year-old kid for wearing a BYU jersey, then yeah, you're a prick. But if there's like some grown ass dude and you're like, hey man, fuck BYU, fuck him. And then everybody around is like, oh, you can't say that, you can't say that. Same thing with Seahawks games, dude. You can't talk shit at any sports event in Seattle, or else you're looked at as like an asshole unless you go to the Thunderbirds games. Then you get a bunch of drunk idiots watching hockey yelling at 16 and 18-year-olds out there and 17-year-olds out there on the ice, and nobody says anything. And that's just the environment of hockey. That's why I think Seattle needs a hockey team.
We're going to get one.
I know, and that's why, people want it. People want the NHL here big time, and it's going to be freaking great. But the fan base for Washington needs to step it up because Oregon fans are killing it. They make that place crazy. They make it electric. They make you feel good to be there, which is wild. Even me being a visitor, it just made me feel good to be in a football environment like that. And I can see why that team feeds on their fans so much. But that was just my little message for Washington fans. I think
there's a couple reasons for that. Well, first of all, Oregon's been a football powerhouse for a lot longer than Washington was. Never forget that year that the Huskies and Cougars won a combined 1 and whatever it was, 25,
Yeah,
I was in
great.
the U District when the Huskies won that final game against Washington State, by the way, and that place, I felt like it was going to burn to the ground. There was more riots than there were after the Seahawks Super Bowl. The other thing is, like, Eugene is very much a college town. So, like, everyone who lives there is associated with the college somehow and grew up loving it. It's also a lot more rural. So people don't go to Eugene for any reason, well, besides Nike, but they're there because the university is there.
So, and well, also with Oregon is they don't have a pro team in anything.
Yeah, that's true,
except
too.
for basketball. But not having like a professional football team, but having like a top tier like college team changes the whole thing. Because I think a lot of people naturally like college football more than they do the NFL because people see it as more of like a job interview. So these kids are out there playing their asses off to get a fucking job.
Although I think that's very much regional. Growing up in New Jersey, in the Northeast, we don't give a shit about college football. I'll tell you right now.
That's a bummer. That is a bummer. But another great point. So on our ride back, we were discussing the Pac-12, and Jeff brought in a really good point that I felt like I need to talk about today. And he said that why don't they just eliminate the number in Pac-12 and just add 2 more teams and have it just be the Pac, but add BYU and add Boise State.
Yeah.
That would bring in 2 more teams that they're not just beat 'em up teams. They compete and they contend. And Boise State beat the Huskies like 5 years ago, but I mean that was also the Huskies 5 years ago.
Yeah.
At home, but anywho, I think that is a great idea. You get rid of the number system, you bring in a few more teams because they did want it to be the Pac-16.
Yes.
And we were talking about that the other day.
Yes. I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on the football playoff system specifically. I don't know if I want to get into them on this episode. It's already...
Yeah,
I end up going 2 hours on this one.
Yeah, we'll get to that on a different episode because there is a lot to that college football playoff system that is just shit. The college system for playoffs or bowl games is just dumb.
Could even have just like a bonus beef section that's just you two beefing it out over that.
Well, that's going to be a long topic.
It'll be like
That's going to be probably a whole sports topic maybe next week.
Maybe a whole sports thing where we'll talk about.
In this intro episode, if we can, to go off what you said earlier about how you loved being basically shat upon for wearing opponent's gear, my favorite sports moment ever has to be 2007 Super Bowl David Tyree helmet catch. A lifelong New York Giants fan, I'll paint a picture for you. I went to college at the University of Maine in Orono, Maine, the heart of Patriots country, okay? The team's undefeated at this point. So I'm at a sports bar with my roommates, Joe and Sheena. Sheena, lifelong Mainer, huge Patriots fan. Joe, her boyfriend, doesn't give a shit about either team, but he's obviously going to support her. So I'm outnumbered. I'm in this sports bar with like 40 Patriots jerseys and me in my Eli Manning jersey. The Bangor Daily Press is there. They send a reporter over to talk to me, and they, like 10 guys in the bar won't let me be quoted in this story because I'm wearing fucking Giants, jersey. They like box me out. Anyways, game comes down to the wire, and the Boston Globe printed a headline for the next day that said 19-0. Like, it was destiny that the Patriots were going to win this game.
Well, they had they just had they had it built.
They were double-digit
that.
favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that just doesn't happen. And then, Eli looks like he's about to be sacked, not known for his mobility, somehow breaks free, heaves this pass to David Tyree, who's covered by Rodney Harrison, by the way, who's known as one of the strongest defenders in the NFL. He knocks people out. That's what he's known for. Pins this catch against his helmet. Somehow, with one hand and his head, this like monster of a free safety cannot pull the ball off it. It doesn't touch the ground.
It's just balancing on his helmet.
Yeah,
that's all that was there.
Absurd.
Crazy. It was great. And I think, I actually remember that. Fuck.
Yeah,
Sorry.
right there, bud.
Yeah, I'm good. I swallowed coffee down the wrong hole, and it really fucked me up. Anyway, I remember that helmet catch. I remember that whole game. That game was great. And I was just telling, we were talking about the rematch few years later too,
Yeah.
and that was also a great
Yeah,
game.
another one.
I think that those two dueling it out in the Super Bowl, it just made for that's what made Eli Manning's legacy.
Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowl MVPs.
He has 2
He's going to the Hall of Fame.
He's going to the Hall of
because
Fame.
of the Patriots. Thanks.
But that's not saying that he needs to, or with that being said, sorry, he needs to retire. He's done. He's over. He's done. And I feel bad watching him suit up every Sunday, going out there and getting his ass kicked.
Here's a fun fact for you. When Odell threw that touchdown pass to Saquon, that was the longest touchdown pass thrown by the Giants since 2016 at the time. Now, later in that same game, Manning threw a longer one to Beckham, but yeah.
If you guys get a
Or
quarterback...
sorry, excuse me, it was the longest air yardage on a completion since 2016.
If you guys get a mobile quarterback who's not old,
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't try to go for like Teddy Bridgewater. They should just try to go for him.
He's on the Saints now.
I know he's on the Saints.
He's
but
the Drew Brees successor now.
dude, there's 3 quarterbacks on the Saints right now, and Teddy Bridgewater's not going to play as long as Drew Brees is still healthy
Drew
and
Brees
playing.
is going to retire. He's going to fall apart at some point. I mean,
At some point, yeah, probably in like a few years. Drew Brees is Drew Brees, man. That guy is
well, honestly, they're
solid.
Giants are 1-5 now, and the team sucks. So let's just not win another game, get a top 2 draft pick, and take the best quarterback available.
Yeah.
Because I felt like Saquon.
I agree.
I feel like I have to eat my hat now, but at the time I thought Saquon was the wrong pick. I wanted them to take Darnold because, franchise quarterbacks, we needed one and we were in position for it. Or trade down because you can get a king's ransom for the number 2 overall. But, I mean, Saquon is a beast. I've never seen anyone like him.
He's great.
Crazy.
He's awesome. He's fun to watch, too.
Yeah.
He's a great player. And I watch, they put his team, the Penn State, they played Washington in the bowl game last year, and Washington's defense, their defensive line was known for clogging up the runnage, or the run yards. He was running all over him. That was another great game, by the way.
You can't tackle him.
He is absolutely insane with his footwork and his size, dude. He's nuts.
Look at those calves. I mean, my God, is that a leg or a goddamn tree trunk?
Calfzilla, dude. And so since you were talking about your sports moment, it just reminds me of mine. Talking about Super Bowls. All right. Seahawks winning Super Bowl 48. I mean, come on. As a Seahawks fan, how could that not be my most favorite moment?
Yeah.
Was watching them clock it out and winning.
Yeah. I mean, that
In a
was
blowout.
Like,
in a blowout
exactly.
that they said that nobody could stop the Broncos' high-powered offense, and they got obliterated.
Well, this is what happens when you have an old quarterback and it's cold outside. I mean,
Yes.
that was the one at Giant Stadium. wasn't it?
Russell Wilson even played that game with the flu
I know.
and the whole off-the-field issues with Percy and Golden Tate.
Oh, yeah,
All
I
of
forgot
that
about
off-the-field issues in the locker room, like minutes before kickoff. There was a lot of bad blood in that locker room, but they went out there, they played as a team, and they killed it. And that was also the Seahawks. The defense for the Seahawks, you can compare it to many of the other fantastic defenses to ever play in the NFL.
That was the height of the Legion of Boom, man.
Yeah, big time.
They were crushing.
And then even in 2014, they started off slow, but winning out the rest of the season after I can't remember which game they lost, but after they lost, that was their you have to win out to make the playoffs. And they somehow pulled it off, won out, won the division, and then played that great game against Green Bay, which leads me to my next point. I got Haley over here says that her favorite sports moment is when Russell Wilson threw the touchdown pass in overtime to Golden Tate, or not Golden Tate, Jermaine Kearse. Here at home, she was working the game. She actually saw the pass play. She was there. She said it was just
working the game.
She was working the game. She was watching the game. It's just absolutely crazy. I've heard her explain that moment before, and it just sounds amazing. It sounds amazing to be there. I wish I could have been there, but I was watching it on TV because I'm too poor to go to games. But her having the ability to watch them while she worked there, she had a great moment, and that's a big moment for Seahawks history. She was able to watch it happen, going to the Super Bowl after being like torn apart earlier in the season, saying that they're not going to even make the playoffs. Great moment. Great moment. And that touchdown pass, I almost threw up.
Yeah.
It almost threw up. But going back to my favorite sports moments, when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, I grabbed a pot and a pan, or I grabbed a pot and a little ladle, and I ran up and down my block, just pounding away on it, screaming, just, wow, fuck. Yelling, smashing this spoon up against the pot, running up and down. People are lighting fireworks off.
Dude,
People are out in the street. It was like, it was just like a whole community event of celebrating the Super Bowl. And it's like, it's funny that everybody in my block was watching this game.
At the same time, it felt a little too polite for me because I got super excited because one of my lifelong goals is to throw a brick through a plate glass window. So I went around looking for a riot and couldn't even find anyone trying to flip a car or nothing. Everybody was way too fucking polite. Now, granted, the whole city smelled like weed. I was
downtown there was like a lot of damage done, but that was just because people are climbing on top of shit that they shouldn't be climbing on, like light poles and shit.
Yeah.
But
I remember I was in the U district at the time, and fucking there was like on fire couches just on.
Yeah, I remember the big couch fire. I remember that.
Maybe it's just because I was in Ballard at the time, and Ballard is full of families.
It wasn't downtown or the U district, But I could only imagine if the Huskies won a national championship with this playoff system, this city would burn to the ground.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It would burn to the ground,
and
I would gladly take part in that because I have watched the Huskies be terrible. I've also seen them. I've also seen them be great. Even when I was a kid, even in my early years of being a children, they were good when I was younger.
Yeah.
And my dad would always take us to games, and we had autographed footballs. And so now it's like my turn to be roughly around my dad's age when he was taking us to games and stuff like that. And now I'm going there to get signed footballs and all that crazy shit. And it's just great. I love the atmosphere. I love the sports here in Seattle. Win or lose, I love Seattle sports. But I love, I got a lot of love for the Buffalo Bills, and I get a lot of shit for it.
I mean, they're terrible.
They're terrible. They're fucking horrible. But I love them.
Yeah,
I love them, and every year I take a bet with my dad that Buffalo will go 8-8 or better for roughly around $40. We didn't do it this year because there's no quarterback there except for poor Josh Allen, who's
Nathan pick six Peterman.
Nathan Peterman is such a joke.
I mean, as a lifelong New York Mets fan, I can feel your pain on having one of the worst teams.
But
being a fan.
I just remember the reason why I became a fan of the Bills was just because I love their colors as like a kid. I saw them playing on a 10:00 game for the Seahawks with my dad, and I was like, I want that team to win. And ever since then, ever since 99 or 2000,
damn,
I've been watching the Bills as much as I can. And when I had NFL Red Zone, I was watching them every day or every Sunday at 10:00. And they have sucked my entire life.
Absolutely.
They have sucked.
Well, I like that their name is kind of a pun almost, most team names don't incorporate the name of the city into the team name, If they were just the Bills, if they were like the San Antonio Bills, that would be weird. But since they're the Buffalo Bills.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
And
right. Just a few more here. Sheena Stakelek on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Beefy Bois, BOIS, because we're fancy like that. Mentions the 2004 Red Sox World Series. I mean, that one's been covered to death. I don't really have much to add on that one besides congrats. You didn't have to wait 100 years, only 86. And one more I had, and this is going to be before both of your time, but in 2001, Mike Piazza hit a home run in the first MLB game played after September 11th, and I was like 15 at the time, and I cried. So
I mean, I've seen that moment plenty of times. It's a pretty powerful moment.
Yeah.
Like, just that moment alone, it kind of reminds you of David Ortiz's speech after
This is our fucking city?
Yep.
Yeah. After the bombing.
Yep.
The marathon bombing.
And that's a pretty, that's a powerful moment. And it brings you to understand that sports is more than just sports.
Yeah.
Sports is all about community in the city and all of that.
Absolutely.
And it rallies everybody together. Even people that hate the Red Sox or any team, not just the Red Sox, but any team. Once there's tragedy and something like powerful like that happens, everybody is behind it.
Well, yeah, the whole world hated New Yorkers, and then September 11th happened, and they didn't hate us anymore.
Everybody rallies up.
All right, we're at just about 50 minutes. Do you guys want to transition to music?
Let's go to music.
Okay.
Oh, let's go to music. So, Vito, let's discuss your perfect album. Let's discuss what you would consider a perfect album, or the album that you've listened to the most.
So, as far as perfect albums go, I'd probably say Peace of Mind by Iron Maiden. It's got classics such as Run to the Hills. That's one of my favorite albums. Great music.
Iron Maiden's
great
Iron Maiden.
feels. This powerful voice, powerful lyrics. They're very good lyricists as well. Hallowed Be Thy Name, one of the most. I just absolutely love the spooky feeling of that song, and then matched with the sort of metaphysical meaning of the but in the lyrics of this guy who's gonna get hanged at the Hollows, and he's thinking about his death coming, you know. And then as far as one of the albums I've listened to the most, I'd probably have to say Black Waltz by Avatar. Very heavy Swedish death metal band. And I think the main reason I fell in love with them was because it was one of the first examples of a screamer that I had listened to who had tone with their screaming, so where it actually sounded like a good addition to a vocalist's repertoire rather than just like a person like almost screeching their vocals or something.
You've showed me them before. And they're pretty awesome. They're pretty heavy. They're pretty dope. I like them. Mm-hmm. I enjoy their music. They're fun, and of course Iron Maiden as well.
Oh yeah,
Iron Maiden's Iron Maiden. I love them. And so, what about you, Joe?
All right, let's see. Well, as far as the album I've listened to the most, it's probably either. Oh God, the name, I'm blanking on it. Anyways, Bad Religion album. I can't remember the freaking name. The one from like, do you help me out? With Sorrow and Broken on it. What's that fucking album?
I'm not gonna be able to help anyone out on any of this.
Yeah, I think our music tastes are very much not aligned with each other.
They're very different.
Anyways,
no. I mean, I know Bad Religion.
I'm gonna look it up.
That wasn't the problem.
My other one is Against Me, Reinventing Axl Rose. That was their first studio album. That's the one that has Pints of Guinness Make You Strong and We Laugh at Danger and Break All the Rules and Those Anacro Pucks Are Mysterious, you know, all the big popular ones. I've listened to that album, God, so many times. As far as, my favorite album / most perfect changes so frequently, but I think right now it's London Calling, The Clash, just, you know.
Oh, yeah,
there's so many bangers on that album.
So good.
Train in Vain is probably one of my favorite songs of all time because it's this really angsty, depressing breakup song, but it's a vocal harmony with like this all in major chords the whole time, so the lyrics and music don't line up at all, and I love that dichotomy about it. And then Rudy Can't Fail is a classic track, you know?
I think the only thing I think of when I think of The Clash is David Lee Roth being David Lee Roth and saying that the only people who put iced tea in their Jack Daniels bottles is The Clash. I think that is fucking hilarious. That video is great.
The name of that Bad Religion album is The Process of Belief, by the way. That's my favorite one. I mean, and The Empire Strikes First. But I was in college when I heard those, you know, so.
Yeah, I've got goldfish memory when it comes to, like, naming stuff is the only reason. But yeah. I listened to a lot of Bad Religion back in the day as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So getting into what I would call a perfect album for me. Okay, so like we said, our music is very different.
Yes.
So it's hard to describe what you would consider a perfect album, right? But a perfect album to me, and I think everybody should check out every album that we've talked about because they're all great albums. But getting into mine, I got 3 that I continuously listen to at the moment. And I'm listening to Colter Wall's Songs of the Plain. He's a folk singer from Saskatchewan.
Okay.
And he is absolutely incredible. He's a young guy. He's around my age. He's 23 or 24. Fantastic music. He plays a lot of oldies, and he plays a lot of his own originals. Another one that I got that's a country album is Cody Jinks' Lifers. There is not one bad song on that album. I could listen to the whole thing over and over, which I did when it came out. I listened to that album back and forth, just over and over again. And this next album, there's a little controversy behind it, and that's just because it won Album of the Year over what everybody thought Beyonce was going to win in a landslide, but she didn't. Is Beck's Morning Phase? I thought
Taylor Swift won Album of the Year that year. Is that
he took it? He took Album of the Year, and he beat Beyonce and Sam Smith, who are like his big runners up. And I think that it was perfect. It was perfect. You know, Beck wrote all the music for it, played every instrument on that album, and then mixed and produced his own album. And there's not one bad song on that album. If you listen to it from start to finish, to me, it's a perfect album. It's fantastic. And I think he's a super talented guy. He's got a lot of weird music, but I think that album was a big-time different style for him, and it worked out perfectly for him in the end.
Okay.
And if you haven't checked any of those albums out, not really expecting a lot of people in this area to have heard a lot of country style of music.
Yeah. Those feel like some deep cuts to me.
These aren't like your everyday streamlined country song or country albums.
Yeah.
And then Beck's album, a lot of people didn't like it because it beat Beyonce and Sam Smith. And it also won rock album of the year that year as well. But anyway, if you haven't checked them out, you should. I know Colter Wall is going to be in Seattle in January. I can't remember the date, but it's going to be a great show. I've seen him live before, and he is just as good as he is on the album live in person. He's fantastic. And I missed Cody Jinks the last time he was in town when he was on his Lifers tour, and it sucked because I wanted to go see it, but I missed it. Anyway, so it looks like we got a few different answers here.
I have to interject one more. My fiance will kill me if I don't mention Paul Simon's Graceland, which we listen to probably 3 times a week. It's great. I love it. You Can Call Me Al is probably the most fun music video I've ever watched in my life. Look it up if you've never seen it. It's basically Chevy Chase being a douchebag the whole time. So,
speaking of significant others, we got Haley's comment here saying 24K Magic from Bruno Mars is her perfect album. It's what she would consider a perfect album. She loves Bruno Mars. And I think it's pretty... I think it's pretty valid. I've heard Dating Her, I've heard the album from start to finish countless times, and I haven't gotten tired of it. I think it's a great, kind of throwback to that old, R&B, hip-hop kind of feel.
24 Karat Magic is obviously off that album.
Yes.
Is Uptown Funk off of that one or a different one?
Uptown Funk was its own thing. I think it was just a single that he did with Mark Ronson.
Okay.
And that was a fun song. I think Bruno Mars he's a super talented guy. Yeah. And, obviously Dating Her, I know a lot more about him than I ever would have without Dating Her. But I think it's cool getting to see somebody like a pop singer like him, getting to see, how talented he really is. The guy's one hell of a drummer. He's one hell of a musician. He can play just about every instrument that he has. And he's just fun. He's fun to watch.
Yeah.
When he played the Super Bowl 2 times, he's been fun to watch both times, especially because the Seahawks were up big time at halftime when he performed for the first time in the Super Bowl. So that made it extra better. But I think I was a little busy shotgunning some beers with, a couple of buddies of mine during halftime, so I couldn't really catch it. But I've seen it ever since. I've seen it. I've seen the halftime performance a few times. But he's great. I think that album is great. And we have an album here from let's see here, from Tim on Facebook. He says, "Okay, Computer" from Radiohead, and I think another one that I completely agree with. I absolutely love "Okay, Computer." I know my dad and my brother absolutely love that album. I think Radiohead's pretty good.
I I just rolled my eyes. I'm not rolling my eyes at Radiohead as a standalone, music situation. Someone's at the door. It's more their fan base is just so pretentious. I can't separate the artist from the community on this one. Is also.
And he's got Talib Kweli and Mos Def Black Star with that's a great album. I have it. I have that collaboration album. It's awesome. But the only thing that I can say about Mos Def is I can only handle him in very light dosage. Yeah. Talib Kweli I can listen to, but when you bring in Mos Def, I can't listen to more of like 3 of his songs without being like, okay, I need to change it. I need to get somebody else up in here because he's pretty repetitive. But he's good, but he's pretty repetitive. And he's got Miss Machine, Dillinger Escape Plan. And I can't say anything because I don't think I know that band. I think they're a metal band, aren't they? I believe, or like a punk metal band.
I thought they were more of the like that.
I think they're like punk metal type band, and I haven't heard much about them. I know my dad's mentioned them a few times.
I always associate them with like the String Cheese Incident and like Dinosaur Jr. That stuff. I have no idea if I'm correct or not.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Tim. This next one I know. I remember this album.
And
middle school dance material coming up.
And so I'm going down here to the list. It says Josh's idea of a perfect album is any Blink-182 album before hiatus.
I mean, he specifically calls out Enema of the State. Which,
he does.
Sure.
Enema of the State is what he would consider a perfect album. And I love Blink-182, but I can't ever say that they have like a perfect album to me. I think that they have they always have their bad songs on their albums, but that's not saying that I don't love their music.
I mean,
I think their
that
music
album
was
did give
fun.
you the jammers of What's My
Age
and
Again. That's what
and,
brought in all those other good ones.
What's that other one?
There's the
one music video where they're naked. That's What's My Age Again. And there's the one that's all like mocking the boy bands. I can picture the video. I know I'm gonna shoot myself when I look it up. Also, Adam's song is off that
Adam's
album
song
too.
Yeah,
so,
that's a gimme.
All the jammers,
yeah,
except for "I Miss You," which is.
Don't talk shit about "I Miss You." Don't talk shit about "I Miss You." I'm just gonna
say that one guy. He's not the best singer.
Are you talking about Tom
with the lip stud?
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. You can go. Okay.
You can go. You can go on YouTube and check out. I Miss You, Tom's verse for a 10-hour loop. Just make sure your Bluetooth is turned off and make sure you're by yourself if you're actually listening to that.
That's a fun thing. I like to mess with my fiance sometimes by putting YouTube videos like that on. My favorite one is the loop of Smash Mouth's All Star, where it's just him saying, "The years start coming and they don't stop coming" on a 10-hour loop.
Oh, yeah. The fucking the All-Star meme just like changed the world. Well, alrighty, folks, we are coming to a close on our show number 1, and you can catch us on Facebook at the Beefy Bois, BOIS. You can catch us on Instagram and Twitter, which Joe knows the
Twitter handle is at Beefy_Bois. Again, BOIS, and then the Instagram is Beefy Bois Bud Club. Again, BOIS. We also have a website that should be live in the next, let's say, hopefully by the end of the month. I'm still waiting on some artwork for that. That's beefyboys.com. Nice and easy. Yeah. Social is probably the best way to reach us for now.
You can reach us on any of our social sites, and we'll continue the idea of asking you guys some of the questions that we're going to be discussing about in our show, and we just wanted to get some of your guys' ideas as far as as what we got for show number 1. And it was awesome getting some people's responses. We enjoy it. We enjoy recording this. And with that being said, I am Christian.
I am Vito.
And I am Joe.
We are the Beefy Bois Bud Club, and that is a conclusion to show number 1. Thank you.